Howdy guys, welcome back to another one. We're doing some 10 gauge again, and yes, I know I've been putting out a lot of 10 gauge videos lately, but that's just because I really like 10 gauge, and so do a lot of you apparently. But this time we're doing something a little bit different. We're doing a 2 7/8 inch shell, not a 3.5 inch. And there's the difference. Yeah, 2 7/8 inch 10 gauge. I have cut this hull down already using Gary Caskey's tools, and I have skived it. I have now learned that that word is actually pronounced skived, and I've got it primed with a Shadot CX2000. These hulls come unskived and unprimed, so I've done that. We are ready to load this. If you guys want to see that process, go back a few videos and watch the, I believe, most recent 10 gauge video in this format that I did, and I showed you how I use Gary's tools and skive them. I would show you guys how I did it, but I do not have a lot of time on my hands right now. It's like 5 in the morning, and we have a doctor's appointment early in the afternoon tomorrow, so I need to go to bed. If I forgot to mention it, this is a Remington hull, but anyway, to continue on, we're using 30 grains of Alliant Unique. Pretty cool powder. Just got it, and I like it so far. But the data right off Alliant's website for this load is calling for a 3.5 inch shell, Remington, and 31 grains of Alliant Unique. Well, I've cut this hull down to 2 7/8 inch, so I'm backing the powder charge down just a little bit to make up for any excess pressure that may happen here. The data is, again, 31 grains of Alliant Unique, a Remington SP10 wad, a Federal 209A primer, I believe it was anyway, and a bunch of 16 gauge nitro cards as filler. Well, and it's fold crimped. The PSI was 7,100 or 7,500, I can't remember, but it was under 8,000 PSI. But again, since I'm using a 2 7/8 inch hull here, I'm lowering the powder charge to make up for any excess pressure that may occur. But this should still be under 8,000 PSI. Also, cutting it down to 2 7/8 inch will eliminate the need for so many 16 gauge nitro cards. But without further ado, 30 grains of Alliant Unique, SP10 wad. If you can't get the SP10 wads or don't have any, get the Ballistic Products BP1044. It's the same height, and from what I understand is now the same diameter as the SP10s. They were a little bit loose fitting before, but again, from what I hear, the problem has been corrected, and they hold the same capacity, so it's sort of a substitute that's okay, I guess, as far as stack height's concerned anyway. But we need a 12 gauge 1/8 inch felt wad. You could also use a nitro card or anything if you have that, but a 16 gauge nitro card would fit just fine, but I'm using 12 gauge felt. Now we need 1 1/4 ounces of whatever size lead shot you want. I'm using copper plated number 4 from Precision Reloading. I love this stuff. Let's see, 1 1/4 ounces, that's 547 grains. If you look in here, all of the shot is inside the wad. The stack height is perfect. Now, we just need to crimp this. Backstation of my lead load all, which is the 6-point crimp. I imagine most of you guys aren't using a lead load all to load 10 gauge, but I am. I converted it to do so, and it serves me very, very well. Here's the pre-crimp. Looks great. Next, we'll be using the OMV Rebacitor die. This thing is the secret to getting factory-style crimps on new hulls and once fired. But it's attached to a 3/4 inch to 7/8 inch rubber expansion plug. You can get these on eBay. They're pretty cheap too. It just slides right up in the pre-crimp tube, just like that. What I do here is I get the primer cover off my other press and set it right here because the little recess on the press is too small for 10 gauge. But we're just gonna give it what I call the middle crimp. There you go. It domes it in, and once we final crimp this, it's gonna look like a factory shell. Alright, without further ado, let's see how it turns out. Looks great. As always, I give it a few pulls down and spin the hull just to, you know, make it more even. Overall, a nicer looking shell, but check this out. Looks like a factory load. If Remington still loaded 2 7/8 inch 10 gauge, that is. Looks great to me. I have 3 of these loaded up. I'm going to do a few more. And guys, I tell you what, this would be a great rabbit load. I'd totally use this to hunt some rabbits with, maybe even some squirrels. Might be a good turkey load with the right choke, if your 10 gauge has chokes. Most people, they don't really shoot these through modern 10s, they load them for their old guns, but I load them for my modern guns. And typically, I don't cut down new hulls. I cut down hulls that split, they get worn out, tired hulls. I cut those down and load those into 2 7/8 inch or 3 inch, sometimes 2 3/4. But those are some really, really nice crimps. And for those of you wondering, yes, you can roll crimp this load too. Just put an overshot card on it and give it a roll. But again, the original data is in a 3.5 inch shell, and it is still fold crimped with 31 grains, and again, a lot of 16 gauge nitro cards. I just omitted all that filler and turned it into a 2 7/8 inch shell and backed down the charge 1 grain. But anyway, guys, I think that's going to do it for me. Please like and subscribe. We always appreciate that. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down in the comment section below, and we'll get back to you. And if you want to, go check out our Patreon. It's as low as $1 a month, and you guys get early access to content. A link to that, as well as a link to our Instagram, Rumble, and now merch store, will be in the description below. But other than that, you guys take it easy. We'll see you in the next one.